See, I'm not kind of a burned out, washed up, former has-been, can't adjust as an adult child TV star. It was a part of my life and one that I'm proud of.
Brady Bunch star Barry Williams. Today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson. Welcome to the first episode of Season 7 of Now I've Heard Everything. Thank you so much for listening. Well, here's the story of a boy named Brady. By the time he was 15, actor Barry Williams was already a television veteran. He'd had small roles in a number of popular TV series, ranging from The FBI and Mod Squad to Dragnet and Lancer and That Girl. But his big break was about to come. In 1969, Barry Williams was cast in the role of Greg Brady, the eldest of the 6 children of the blended Brady family. Now, that was a role that he embraced and ran with for the next 5 seasons and beyond. But the endurance of the Brady Bunch has far surpassed that of almost all of its contemporary TV series. And so the Brady Bunch lives on. And by 1992, nearly 2 decades after the Brady Bunch went off the air, it was not just the baby boomers and Gen Xers who were the fans. Now it was their children who were the fans of this show. So in 1992 is when Barry Williams wrote a memoir called Growing Up Brady. Now, of course, as a card-carrying, Brady-watching baby boomer myself, there was no way I was going to pass up the chance to talk to Greg Brady. I had so many questions, including whatever happened to Fluffy the cat. So in just a moment, our conversation.
No, Sherman, this isn't the Wayback Machine, but it is a look back at an interview from the 30-year archive of national radio personality Bill Thompson. Enjoy.
So here now from 1992, Barry Williams.
This is a story that wouldn't go away. I was continually asked about the Bradys and who the people were that made the characters come to life and what it was about. My own particular angle of interest was what it was like growing up in show business altogether. And I thought I had kind of a unique point of view in that our show, first of all, I started long before the Brady Bunch in television, and so I had a lot of stories about those formative years. And then the Brady Bunch, as it became more successful, started to branch into other mediums. We did a cartoon show. We recorded some 4 albums. We were asked to do, of course, personal appearances, but also we put together a whole concert act, and we toured around singing the songs that we'd recorded and popped songs at the time. So we saw the business from several different angles.
It must have been a heady time for a teenager.
Very. Both because of the times themselves. One only has to glance at the cover to realize we're talking about the early 70s, folks. Polyester and beads and fringe abound.
I meant to ask you, I'm troubled by how many people now in their 30s have gone through years of psychotherapy to get them out of this notion that they must wear day-glow colors and fringe. You're responsible for all this, I hope you know.
For a lot of it. We did, we had wardrobe personalities on here that were supplying us with the up-to-the-date, latest kinds of fashions. It's hard to think of the Bradys on the cutting edge of anything, but clothes certainly seem to stick out. I think in part because it's been so reinforced over the years. We aren't the only. If you looked at episodes of the Mod Squad or other shows from that time period, you'd see the same things going on. Or even That Girl, you'll see Ted Bissell walking in some collars that are darn near down to his waist. But because our show has been on and lived on in syndication repeatedly over 2 decades, we seem to get the dubious distinction of keeping the bell-bottoms alive.
You must have 2 or 3 generations of fans. I know my kids, they're 9 and 11. They love the Brady Bunch.
One of the most exciting things that's happened for me as a result of this book, when I've gone out into the cities and done book signings, and one of the nicest things that's happened for me is to have young girls come in and buy this book for their mother and say it's for her birthday. Or I have mothers coming in and saying, I grew up with you, but my daughter's now watching the show and this is for Christmas. And it's yes, it's multi-generational.
Well, I'd read somewhere that when they were making the Dick Van Dyke Show, that Carl Reiner and the writers and the producers of the show specifically wanted them to avoid any reference to President Kennedy or any other cultural thing
that would tie them to
would
a
date it,
yeah.
which is why it's lived on. And for the most part, with a few exceptions here and there, but nothing really noticeable, the Brady Bunch is that same way, isn't it?
The big advantage that we have is that we're in color. So even though there are no date references in Dick Van Dyke, it is black and white. Of course, that could be changed, Mr. Turner. Yes. But the things that the Brady Bunch is from Anytown, USA. It was never identified. A lot of people suspect Los Angeles because there were a lot of Los Angeles backdrops, and the Dittmeyer neighborhood, the painted mural next to that Brady backyard with the AstroTurf looks shockingly like Los Angeles, but it never was identified. What we do have, however, is a lingo, and of course the clothes. In fact, even when I was thinking about the title for this, the full title is Growing Up Brady, I was a teenage Greg. That comes because Michael Landon also was a friend of mine, for one, and also had a little typecasting to overcome himself with Werewolf and later on with Little Joe. But my secondary title was For Whom the Bell Bottoms Toll. So we do have that identification.
There's a lot of, why was it there was one season where almost every episode Greg wore this black and white striped shirt, it looked like. And every episode we saw Greg in the black and white striped shirt. Was that the only shirt you had that season?
Well, I will explain that, but first I'm going to have to ask you to tune the color in on your television. It seems to me that was a dark blue and white striped sweater. And what we would do is, over the course of the 5 years, every time we'd start a new season, which was usually around the summer, everyone noticed that the Bradys had grown a bit. We were taller. We had filled out or gotten skinnier or something, and so we bought new wardrobe. And that always happened at the beginning of the season. And then we would do our 22 episodes basically with the clothes that we'd purchased for that season. Now, when you're doing a show once and it's only airing once a week, you don't sort of pay attention to that kind of thing. You have a couple of things in an episode, and then you don't see it again for a month, those people that were really, really following the show. Now, however, when it's on every day, it's like, how come you never changed your clothes?
Maybe you just took the same 6 bags with you to the Gilligan's Island, all the clothes that you owned.
I have to say that was the best part about being the oldest on the Bradys, because I never got hand-me-downs, and of course Peter and Bobby did.
Now, much has been made up till now in the publicity about the book. Everyone from USA Today to Mademoiselle and everybody else that's taken a look at the book has zeroed right in on the romances that took place among the various cast members. Do you think that aspect has been kind of overplayed a bit?
I do a little bit, and I kind of have to recharacterize it, because people that are expecting a kind of a sleazy or salacious kind of look at the Bradys are going to be disappointed if they buy this book. The book is mostly about the fact that we were fairly normal kids in fairly unusual, extraordinary circumstances. And the things that guided what I included in the book were the things that had impact on that. And certainly the fact that we had relationships off screen was a part of that. We all paired up at one point or another. In fact, ironically, the 2 youngest were the first 2 to kind of go through a mock wedding ceremony that Maureen McCormick, who played Marcia, presided over, and with a bunch of dumb jokes like holy macaroni and awfully wedded bliss. But it was kind of a natural outgrowth of the fact that we were sequestered together for those 5 years. We spent more time as our sort of surrogate family than with our own families for whole years at a time. And so the relationships that grew out of it were sort of normal. It was a question of hate each other or love each other. And we did a little of both throughout, because we did interact in certain ways like a family, but never blood related, if you understand what I mean.
Right.
And I don't think it was any shock or secret to notice that Marcia grew up into looking quite attractive. I kind of felt like there were hundreds of thousands of guys that were out there rooting me on. If it couldn't be them, best it be me. And I agreed.
I'll secretly confess, the first couple of seasons, Marcia was my girl, but then Jan. Toward the end of the run, it was all Jan for me.
Jan had that healthy upper respiratory thing happening there around the second or third year.
After this short break, Barry Williams talks about typecasting and whatever did happen to Fluffy the cat.
If you've ever wondered where to find the captivating books we discuss on Now I've Heard Everything, wonder no more.
Just tap the link in our show notes or visit our website, heardeverything.com.
Plus, when you purchase through our affiliate links, you're not only diving into great stories, but also supporting this podcast.
And we thank you for your support.
Back to my 1992 conversation with Barry Williams.
You seem to be the most successful among the 6 kids in breaking the stereotype and going on to be successful as an actor in other roles.
God, don't tell the other 5 kids that, or they won't help me with my next book. I had a great time doing the show. It was something that I really had gone after. As I said earlier, I'd done shows like Marcus Welby and Mission Impossible, and Takes a Thief, Dragnet, the FBI, Mod Squad, the That Girl, all kinds of shows before the Brady Bunch. So the Brady Bunch was something that was a job, a series, was something I had really anticipated, looked forward to, and grateful to have. And I enjoyed all of those years. It didn't turn out to be the professional credit that I had hoped it would be, because I thought that would just springboard my career into the next phase, and probably movies and features and that kind of thing. And what I found was myself in a seriously handicapped with typecasting and an association with a type of family show that was a mold that's been difficult to break through. But this is something I've always wanted to do. I mean, this is my chosen career, so to speak. So I wasn't going to let a little thing like a conspiracy of all of Hollywood keeping me out of television for 10 years to get in the way of my career. And I discovered theater, and mostly musical theater, which is what's kept me busy and off the streets and away from robbing video stores for the last many years.
What is the difference in thrill level between completing an episode of a series and completing a show on a live stage in front of a live audience and hearing live applause?
Well, there's almost no comparison, because you finish an episode of a television show and you wouldn't even know it, because really the completion is done in the editing room with the directors and the producers. So as an actor, it's not nearly as satisfying or rewarding. While doing a stage play, you begin at the beginning, end at the end, and you get to go through the entire arc of the show all at once. Plus, it's much more collaborative. Everyone in theater works toward making the moments happen. The people behind the set, in the wings, the stage hands, the people running the spotlights, of course, all the actors, the dressers. Everyone's working together to make the moments happen and make them real. Plus, there's the added excitement of having an audience there to share it all with and to let you know instantaneously whether or not your work is paying off.
Yeah. Well, if an actor has once in his career been typecast, is he always careful then about it in the future? In other words, you've shed Greg Brady. Would you now be typecast as Stone? I mean, are audiences going to know, hey, that's Stone?
Typecasting, you're always replaced with the next biggest thing you have. But in order to break one mold, you have to have a success that's bigger than the one you're typecast with. And there are a lot of examples of that. Take, we were talking about Michael Landon a little earlier. You know, he put dozens of families and their children through school and college with his 20, 30 years of regular television series. But Little Joe was always a name that was with him. Sylvester Stallone. As much as this man wants to do romantic leading man comedies, he's still Rocky. Sally Field and The Flying Nun, or Who Was Cher Without Sonny. So typecasting is there, and I don't think I have shed Greg Brady. I don't even try to shed it. What I try to do is incorporate it, include it, and give the audience enough credit to know that they realize that I did some work as a teenager and that they can now accept me in a new role and a new way.
Well, fans of the Brady Bunch will be glad to know, if even for those handful that were disappointed that it's not the Salacious book, they'll be at least also happy to know that this is not a Here's those years I put up with being Greg Brady type book.
No, not at all. It's a very positive and affectionate look back. But see, I'm not kind of a burned out, washed up, former has-been, can't adjust as an adult child TV star. It was a part of my life and one that I'm proud of, and I took the more humorous and some of the more dangerous and hopefully some of the more interesting aspects of those 5-6 years.
What question are you asked the most often?
I'm asked a lot if I enjoyed if I enjoyed doing the show, just how far I did get with Marcia.
We seem to be fixated on that.
Things of serious and major import.
Do you have a favorite episode?
Well, to watch, I like to watch the show called Adios Johnny Bravo, where I get the job as the rock star because I fit the suit, and because it has such that corny choreography that we have become associated with the kickball changes and the side steps, etc. I think that's kind of funny.
In reading the episode by episode synopsis, you can really get the impression that Jan was very neurotic, psychotic, schizophrenic, paranoid.
Completely over the top with that stuff. She never could take anything and like deal with it or say, I'm feeling insecure about that. It was, Marcia's ruined my life, or how could society conspire against me like that? It was always the weight of the world that she carried.
But there were never such serious problems. I mean, Marcia never came home wondering about the results of her venereal disease test or something like that.
That wasn't the scope of our show. It never was intended to be that, despite Robert Reed's hopes for the directions that it would take. It was supposed to be light entertainment, talking about the kinds of problems, some of the problems that teens would get involved with. But then, of course, being teenagers, we'd exaggerate how important those problems were. And mostly the show's about communication and ideals and morals and that kind of stuff. In many ways, he was very paternal, a mentor for me. He was classically trained, as you may know, a graduate of the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London. And what he would share with me was how to find the truth in a scene. Sometimes he would help me reconcile the difference between art and commercialism, which was something we were constantly having to battle.
His memos are great.
And scathing. If there's a controversy, that's probably the most controversial in the book because Robert Reed and the producers, Sherwood Schwartz especially, were so much at odds about the direction of the show and the way that they perceived the show from the very beginning. And people are surprised to learn that it was Robert Reed who supplied those memos to me. He was proud of the things
Well, he took it seriously.
Very seriously, as he took his life seriously. He was a serious man and private.
The one other question my wife asked me to be sure and ask you, in the pilot, we see Tiger chasing the cat across the lawn.
Yes.
But we never saw the cat again. We know what became of Tiger.
After that episode.
Did this family...
Fluffy actually made it to the honeymoon.
Oh, that's right.
Fluffy made it to the honeymoon.
But Fluffy never made another... Did Fluffy retire?
We retired Fluffy. There's that old adage, never work with children or animals. And we knew we weren't going to get rid of the children. Animals are very difficult to work with in the business because no matter how much you pay them, they have a mind of their own. And basically that mind is controlled through diet, meaning they starve them the night before and then you have them run a straight line from wherever they're being held to the trainer who's got the food. And so we just really found the stories then focusing on the kids and less so with the doghouse.
It's a thoroughly entertaining book. I wish I had lots more time, but I'm out of time.
I think you did a complete job, 100%.
Thanks so much for coming.
Barry Williams is 70 now, still acting. Now you can get a copy of Growing Up Brady by Barry Williams by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're listening to this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you can also hear my 2009 interview with Maureen McCormick.
I think the Brady Bunch is a great thing. I'm glad it's made so many people so happy. It's wonderful to have been a part of that.
and my 1993 conversation with another star of another Sherwood Schwartz production, Gilligan's Island, Bob Denver, Gilligan himself.
Once you bought that these people were really so-called stranded, that you'd have these kind of people stranded on a desert island, that's it. Once you buy that, then we can do anything we want. In fact, Sherwood said, just don't go too far, and we all laughed.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, she's the former governor of New Jersey, once talked about as a Republican presidential candidate. We'll revisit my 2005 interview with former New Jersey Governor Christy Todd Whitman.
For moderates, those of us that are called rhinos, you do feel you're on the outside because moderate Republicans get challenged in primaries, not because they've done a bad job, but because they're not ideologically pure enough.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.